SISTA Reasoning, Groundation Number 1, DAWTA Jean and Sister Jacqueline by Rastafari. If we allow ourselves to be bogged down with the experiences of I ancestors to the effect that I become dysfunctional in mind, soul, and body, how then can I move forward when grievance and bitterness have clogged the mind? Rastafari, Wisemind Publications. Copyright Wisemind Publications 2018. All rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced or stored without prior permission of the publisher. All rights reserved. No part of this 2023 recording may be reproduced, stored, or utilized without prior permission of the recorder. SISTA Reasoning, written by Rastafari, edited by Adrian Dario, cover design by Antonio Barrett, layout by Flaco Tafari, published by Wisemind Publications, distributed by Wisemind Publications. Contact rasflaco@gmail.com, wisemindpublications@gmail.com. Table of Contents, page 6, The Levity of Rastafari in Your Early Days. Page 10, The Attitude and Treatment of the DAWTA. Page 12, How did the Jamaican society view Rastafari sisters wearing locks? Page 15, Difference in the Trod of Kingman and DAWTA. Page 17, Groundation. Page 21, Parenting. Page 24, Vaccinations. Page 27, How do you see the international Rastafari community raising funds for the DAWTA's quarter? Page 28, The Order of the Nyabingi. Page 30, Message to the international Rastafari community, especially the sisters. The Levity of Rastafari in Your Early Days. DAWTA Dean. In my youthful days, that is to say age 13 and under, I was not a Rastafari during those days. I used to listen to my father and was afraid of what he used to say. He always says he doesn't want to leave his first child here in Babylon. He will take her to Africa. I learned about Africa from my grandparents and from my teachers in school. They used to say that Africa is a place with plenty lions who will eat us up if we go there, so I never want to go to Africa. My father was a man who walked around the community preaching about Africa. Anytime I heard his voice preaching as he approached the house, I would always run under the bed because I don't want to be taken to this place called Africa. My childhood days, I knew nothing about Rastafari. When I was 20 years old, I questioned a Rastaman to find out what Rastafari was all about. I listened to his teachings and soon realized what my father was really talking about. At the age of 21 years old in 1969, I became a Rastafari. Sister Jacqueline, in my youthful days, I not living as Rastafari, but listening to my father and the instructions that he always gave us, along with the discipline and order. I would just listen and humble myself. At the age of 24, I began to associate more with Rastafari individuals to learn more of the faith and movement. My first experience was at the Nyabingi held at the Pitford Nyabingi grounds. My father, who is Adam Chambers, was Rastafari following the teachings of the 12 tribes of Israel in Jamaica. In the year 1994, I attended the Nyabingi gathering at Granville Pit for because it was the closest to where I was living in Trelawney. Although Nyabingi was held in other parishes in Jamaica, it was too far for me to attend. During the Nyabingi, I attended ancient Bongo Wat presentation, was very upful, and I now see where in that presently many things is lacking in Nyabingi House today. There are lots of different energies that now exist from due to the absence of ancient Bongo Watto and ancient Bongo time. DAWTA Dean. Bongo Watto was a very strict person in his days. Some people may not like him for his strictness, whereas some others will. I was one who liked Bongo Watto for his firmness. I grew up with my grandfather, who was a deacon in the Baptist church, and he was a very austere man, and I get to learn the good lessons of strictness. As such, I really appreciate Bongo Watto. He stayed on the righteous path, which enabled each one to look into their mistakes. The attitude and treatment of the DAWTA Dean. It was somewhat questioning how it was said and done to make the DAWTA to be such a righteous person, as such you dare not criticize. However, some of the things were really questionable. It seems like an overreacting form of strictness. For instance, someone gave me some money to deliver to a person. I never know if that woman was in her period cycle. She was not supposed to even hand over money to any brethren. I told Bongo Devon that someone gave me some money to deliver to him. When I approached Bongo Devon, he said, "What happened? The daughter Irie?" Quote unquote. I replied, "Yes, I had no knowledge of the meaning of the word Irie. Bongo Devon said, "What about your time? You in your time?" It was that time I knew he was talking about the period time. I slowly replied, "Oh, it just started a couple days now." Bongo Devon shouted, "Then how you expect to take money out of my hand? You're unclean. Don't come give me any money. Keep that. I don't want any money. And don't take any money from anyone to carry come give me when you in your time. That's wrong. You're rude. Don't do that again, you unclean self." I started to cry. Tears started to roll down my face. I never heard from I was born that I was unclean, and it was so cruel and so sinful. I was scorned and given a tongue lashing that was one of the strictness that I think was overreacting. When I mentioned the incident to other sisterns, they replied he should not have to behave that way and not to embarrass you. Some of these teachings were created by some Rastaman, which was not really biblical. A Christian should study herself and know how to behave on the bingy ground and know her days. If your time is 3 or 4 days before the bingy, don't attempt to go to the ISIS because sometimes it can be a little earlier or a little late. If the cistern is at bingy, and that should happen to make sure no one sees anything on your clothes. If it does happen and no one is aware, you take your time and leave the bingy ground. You cannot walk through the tabernacle. You have to find another area around the bingy ground to make your exit. The teachings of His Majesty shows where the female has a role to play, which is the alpha and omega balance.